Presidential candidate Dr. Ben Carson said in a radio interview this week that the size of the federal government needs to be reduced dramatically. And the first thing he wants to change is the VA. Before Nathan Fletcher spoke about the Iran deal in San Diego, he appeared on the show Fox and Friends to address Carson's comments. Joining us to talk about the Department of Veterans Affairs and his comments is our own retired Marine, Nathan Fletcher. All right. I want to get your thoughts here in a moment, but let me read part of what Dr. Carson had to say. He said, there's a lot of stuff we're doing that doesn't make sense. We have a Department of Veterans Affairs. We don't need the Department of Veterans Affairs. It should be under the Department of Defense. Nathan, what do you say?
Well, Jen, look, it's election season and you hear lots of crazy things that don't make any sense, but this is probably one of the craziest. And I think that while Dr. Carson is no doubt a good man and was perhaps a good brain surgeon, he fundamentally doesn't understand that the mission of the Department of Defense is to protect interests and execute military action. The mission of the Veterans Affairs is to care for veterans who are broken from the end of their service until dying. And so the notion that you're just going to take one and mix them together is just a bad idea. What we need to do is fix the Veterans Affairs and make it work to better serve our veterans. There's no dispute on that. There's no doubt on that. But it would be a really bad decision to try and merge the two together.
Right, and that's essentially what he was saying, right? The VA has been under so much scrutiny, especially the last 18 months or so, with so many long wait times. He's saying, look, there's got to be something else we can do. Any suggestions on what do you think that solution would be?
Well, if you buy into Dr. Carson's premise, the Department of Defense is this model of efficiency, and to be honest, I don't fully subscribe to that. If we look at the F-35 or other things, we say that's not the case. But let's just say we agree with him there. Then I would say that we don't have a problem managing large organizations. We just have a lack of political will. So we certainly put forward a lot of effort. We're never concerned about the size of government when we're executing war, when we're making combat veterans. We need that same effort to go into caring for them when they come back. And so that means we need the same energy and focus that goes into making the Department of Defense work to create combat veterans, put behind the Department of Veterans Affairs to make sure we take care of them.
All right, and let me add on to that. You mentioned, let me talk about recruitment. Dr. Carson says recruitment in the Army, at least the volunteer Army program, down 14%. Part of the reason, he says, is because military members are afraid to get into the service because they're thinking, well, the VA probably won't do a very good job taking care of me while I'm in service and then when I get out. Do you think that's playing a role at all?
Well, it's not helpful. Look, I'm not in any way defending the VA. I've been one of the harshest and most outspoken critics of the fact that they've got to do a better job happening that. Dr. Carson's argument, though, is a little bit more complex than he portrays. That is certainly a part of it. I'll tell you another thing, Jen, that affects morale is when we prosecute a 10-year war that was ill-conceived and ill-executed, and we see a situation in Iraq now that is worse than it was before we went, and we have thousands of our friends who have died. Hey, that lowers morale too. And so I think there's a lot of things that we need to do to rebuild and restore the confidence in the military. Reforming the VA is certainly part of it, but taking the VA and saying we need to get rid of it, saying we're not going to commit to care for you afterwards, we're going to give you to another organization that's primary mission is not caring for veterans, would probably be the most disastrous thing we could do for morale. So I think Dr. Carson's well-intentioned, he's just misinformed.
Well, and you mentioned it kind of at the top of the interview, that's with so many Republicans in the race right now, they're all looking for something. Of course, we've seen it with Donald Trump.
With this statement, though, he makes Donald Trump look normal.
Well, what does that tell you? All right, Nathan Fletcher, always great to have you on the show. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Good to be with you.